Right. I guess we are live, I think.
We're
Yeah,
live. Hi,
great.
everyone. We'll let folks trickle in here and we'll get started in just a couple minutes. Peter, how you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good. What about you, Cam?
Can't complain. Can't complain.
Hmm. Let's see. Do we have people beginning to trickle in? I don't think I can see
I
that.
don't, I don't know. Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. Like, I
Yeah. Yeah, we'll
wonder
just
if
go
we're
in
able to
faith.
see how many people.
It's an audience of thousands.
We have a good morning. Good
Oh,
morning,
hey. Good morning. Welcome.
Mandia from Trainingport. Thanks for joining. Hi, Joy. See, this is what we need for reassurance that people are actually joining our webinar. We need some good mornings.
Yeah, right.
Hi, Jay. Thank you
Proof of
for
life.
joining. Yeah, yeah. If you're out
Oh,
there,
there we go.
please. Got
Awesome.
Elizabeth from Rustici, our very own.
Oh,
Carly,
what a treat.
Alberto, Heather. This is great.
Awesome.
Yeah, if you're out there, say hello. We'd love to hear from you. We'll get started. We'll probably give it another few seconds here and then we'll tee things up. If you
yeah.
don't have the chat pulled up, you can access the chat on the right-hand side. You can Um, you'll be able to post anything you need to post in there, including a hello or a good morning, and you'll be able to hear some things from us as well in the chat. Happy Tuesday, Paul. Indeed.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
I think we could probably get started, huh, Peter?
yeah, I think so.
Let's do it.
Hey, Albert. Welcome. Well, yeah, everybody, thank you for being here. We're grateful for the time. My name is Peter. I work on the sales team here at Rustici. Um, I say sales, but it often is a little bit more like e-learning therapy. That's a term you'll hear thrown around from time to time. If you've been to our websites, you will have noticed that there are contact forms on pretty much every page, telling you to ask us everything, ask us anything really. We try to make it really easy for you to reach out to us because the stuff we do is pretty niche, tends to be kind of confusing, and it's just usually easier just to talk to us. So yeah, if you fill out one of those forms, you'll end up talking with either me or Andy or Philip. And we're really just here to listen and kind of understand the challenges you're trying to solve for and hopefully help you find a solution.
Wonderful. Thanks, Peter. Hi, everyone. I'm Cameron Gray. I'm a client success manager here at Rustici Software. You'll also often hear us referred to as account managers. But essentially, after you've gotten to talk to Peter and his team, and you become a Rustici customer, you then get to talk to me and my team. So I've been here for almost 7 years now, working with organizations and enterprises and federal agencies of all shapes and sizes, making sure that once you've purchased some software from us, that you're happy with it and things go smoothly. So before we dive in today, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. First of all, you're going to see at the top of the chat a survey. So we would love to know a little bit more about how we're doing. You know, if you would be so kind at any point after at the end, you're going to be prompted to do it, but towards the end, we would love for you to click on that and fill out that survey. We'd love some feedback on the webinar. Second thing, a lot of you are already doing this, which is great, but you found the chat. Please post questions in the chat. We're going to be covering a lot of ground today. And I know folks will have questions. We hope you have questions. That's what we love to do, is answer questions. Feel free to post those in there and we'll get to as many as we possibly can. On that note, you're going to see, you know, Rustici marketing, maybe some other folks from Rustici software in the chat that are not Peter or I. Do not be afraid. They are with us. They're here to help us answer questions and help us along the way. So in the vein of questioning, let's kick things off. We've already got some people chiming in with where they're calling in from. That's great. We'd love to hear that. But Uh, Today we're talking about training roadblocks. So we would love to know what is your most common training roadblock today? What do you feel like is the most relevant or significant challenge you're facing right now? Again, feel free to post those, and we'll do our best to address some of those as we move through the slides today. All right, let's kick it off a little bit about Rustici software. I suspect that many of you know us, but you may be new here. And so, who are we? What do we do? Um, we are experts in e-learning technology. More specifically, we focus on e-learning standards, SCORM, XAPI, CMI5, LTI, and AICC, among some other formats. Um, Leveraging our expertise in this area, we focus on connecting e-learning platforms. In short, we make sure that e-learning companies can play nicely with one another. Go to the next slide, Peter. We've been around for a little while, guys. 2002, right? We've been doing this for a long time, and this is really all we do. We focus on e-learning standards. More specifically, we help folks play content in their e-learning platform. We help delivering that content to external systems or third parties. And then, perhaps most importantly, at the end of the day, report on what's actually going on once you've played that content and delivered that content. On the left-hand side of this slide, maybe it's the right-hand side to you. I don't know how mirroring works in this situation, but on the slide here, you're going to see a number of organizations and enterprises, some logos you're probably going to recognize. Maybe some of you are out there. Thanks for joining. But these are some of our customers. A lot of these customers came to us with significant training challenges that they were facing, roadblocks that they were facing. And while everyone is unique with their challenges and the solutions they're looking for, there tends to be a common thread. And one of those common threads I find is that a lot of these organizations at the time when we first started engaging with them were, you know, smaller, more modest training organizations. They were really trying to understand as they start to ramp up, what are best practices. They were starting to see challenges already forming and looking for solutions in terms of standardizing content, centralizing content. But we find that as you grow, as your training organization becomes more sophisticated, you're naturally just going to come up against some growing pains. And Peter's going to talk a little bit about what that looks like as you grow.
Yeah, thanks, Cam. So, yeah, as I was saying, every day people reach out to us with all kinds of questions. There are some common threads there, and one common scenario that we hear a lot is some version of that. Our organization has grown, and so has the administrative burden. This can be mergers and acquisitions. We've got new uh, team members, new divisions within our organization. It could be expansions to new markets. Um, just general growth, right? This happens gradually sometimes, or maybe it's all of a sudden, and it's often a good thing, right? We're happy. We want to see growth. That's all. That's great, but it does present new challenges, particularly from the perspective of a content team. Um, so a lot of times, what people tell us is, "Hey, I used to just kind of have to publish my courses, upload them to my LMS, and everything was hunky dory. Now I've got 3, 4, 5 LMSs I need to kind of harmonize." A good example of this is like an organization that acquires another company. Now they've got a subsidiary or a new team that has come in with their own LMS, and everyone's happy. They love that LMS. They already know how to log in. They can't get everybody ported over to a new system. There's no time for that. An easier approach, rather than trying to manage all of these, sending your content out to all of these different systems, an easier approach is to just kind of put it in one place and then push it out wherever it needs to be. And the other thing here is that with new faces, new learners, kind of new venues, the stakes are higher, right? And it becomes more important than ever to be sure that your content is actually delivering results. But it's more challenging than it used to be. So people tell us a lot that L&D feels like a little bit of an afterthought, and the decisions that are made at the top can sort of trickle down and leave L&D folks with kind of a mess. Um, so we are here to hopefully try to solve some of those challenges. Um, so what we're going to do today is kind of explore some of the common roadblocks that we hear about. And this number one roadblock here, this is kind of at the core of everything. They all kind of stem from this, which is basically, hey, I have to send my content out to multiple systems, and now I'm managing whether it's updates or versioning or whatever's going on. I've got anything I used to do once, now I have to do it 2, 3, 4, 5 different times. It's not the case that one LMS is all we need. Most of these organizations we find have a dozen or more learning tools in the mix. So, and of course, none of these tools were really designed to work with each other. So they all kind of do things a little bit differently in their own special way. So all of these other challenges we're going to talk about kind of stem from this one. So we'll go a little bit deeper here. The first one I want to talk about is versioning, right? So this is really important. This is the thing people struggle with a lot. Again, you've got courses that you now need to share out to multiple systems, and it's time to update them. Maybe that used to be easy, but now it means pushing courses out to several systems and making sure everyone's on the right version of the course, and that usually means relying on other people who may have other work to do. You need to get it to them, and also get confirmation that yes, we trashed the old one, and yes, we've implemented the new one, and now learners are seeing the new version. um, that's just not practical at scale. um, so this can be really problematic, and can be frankly costly. um, and kind of coming back to that e-learning therapist thing, we talk to a lot of people, and we hear about a lot of people using a lot of different systems, and the impression that I get is that not every system handles versioning in an elegant way. Let's just say that. Um, so yeah, and the next one here is kind of a standards mismatch situation. So maybe you are able to get your courses pushed out, but now these new LMSs, they support a different standard. You may have been publishing content as SCORM 1.2, and that's great. But now you've got an LMS or an administrator who says, well, but I need SCORM 2004.
Mhm.
Okay, so now you have to republish your courses, maybe just for that system, in another standard. And this, of course, assumes that your authoring tool supports those standards. Um, there's an easier way, uh, but there's a kind of a flip side to this too, which is that we have some customers who publish content that is more advanced, right? So it's doing all kinds of interesting stuff. It's tracking all kinds of wild things that just it doesn't really fit into a SCORM shaped box. So they're using modern standards like CMI5, but they're using an LMS, or their franchises, or their some other division within their company is using an LMS that only supports SCORM 1.2. So now it's either republish this content, but in this case, you're also kind of taking away some of that magic. So you're kind of bringing it back down to a SCORM level. Maybe just for one system, maybe other systems get the full CMI5 magic. That's not great. Um,
Mhm.
you you should not have to adapt your content to fit the standards that the LMS supports. You should be able to build content in the way it needs to be built, and you should pick the standard that works best for what you're trying to do.
Right. And this is one of those things, Peter, that I tend to find that a lot of folks just don't think about it until they get there, right? So they're sort of having to work backwards, which is not ideal, right? You want to be in your, if you're a content creator, you want to be in your authoring tool, um, focusing on making great content and doing it efficiently and effectively, and have an impact. Then you're getting to one or two steps down the road and realizing, oh man, I didn't export this in the right format. And think of it, all these roadblocks we're talking about too, like we got to think about them in terms of sort of a compounding issue, right? You've got not only these multiple standards you're having to work back into with various LMS providers, but when you think about the previous slide of versioning, well, now I've got to go share the latest version. I've updated my course, and oh gosh, I've got it over here in Scorm 1.2, and I've got it over there in Scorm 2004, and this LMS like CMI 5. So again, you're sort of this problem starts to snowball if you think about it that way, and it's just really not ideal.
Yeah, thank you, Cam. It is. We feel pretty strongly that content teams should just be able. The courses should just do what they need to do, right? You shouldn't be
Mhm.
kind of making things dumber to fit some LMS that maybe you didn't even pick. So yeah, content is king, right? Your content is that's the special sauce. So yeah, then roadblock number 4 here is how do you get these courses out to where they need to be? Get them to the learners. Um, you've got all this content out there, multiple systems, different versions, different learning standards. If you don't have an efficient way to get the stuff where it needs to be, then the problem really grows. We've got customers who, every month they're adding new courses, making new courses available for their customers or for their, associations or local chapters. And that's just a lot, right? That's a lot of content going out, and somebody has to manage all of that. Um, and another angle here is uh, we hear a lot of people who would like to switch to a different LMS, but often they feel trapped because they've got
Mhm.
a ton of content, they've got a bunch of reporting history, they've got all this stuff. They're kind of like wedded to the system they're in, and it becomes just such a burden to try to move. These systems don't always make it super easy to get your stuff out and into another system. Um, there are reasons for that. So we think there's a better way to handle this.
Yeah, and we talk about this root cause a little bit of uh, there's a lack of sort of self-service elements here when you're working across teams and systems and customers. I think like LTI and AICC have really done wonders, and this is not a new idea, but have done great things for the integrated approach. Platform to platform communication. You think about large content providers like LinkedIn Learning. I mean, they're still relying heavily on AICC as sort of a way to integrate content from their system into yours. And I'm by no means an expert on AICC, LTI, or integrating platforms, but I know that those things take time and effort. What we'd like to see is something that is a little bit more out of the box, right? A way that you can just make your content available, sort of a grab and go scenario. But there's sort of a lack of options out there when you think about that specific approach.
Yep. Yeah, I like this comment from Drew. Trapped in an LMS is a very real problem of ours. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's case in point. It is. It's a problem.
It is, and sometimes the decision is not always yours, Drew, too. Like maybe it is. I hope you have a lot of buy-in and say in your organization. But what happens if tomorrow HR, central HR says we're going to change LMSs? Okay, great. What is that? Like maybe it's a cost-cutting measure. Maybe they're trying to save money somewhere. Maybe you have other parts of your organization or customers who are changing LMSs. Again, wouldn't it be nice to sort of remain agnostic of that change, or if that change is occurring, um, be able to adapt quickly. So
Uh, yeah. Okay. So this is a big one. This is kind of why we're all here, right? Everybody needs the green check mark. Everybody needs to be able to show that yes, these people did learn how to not get their arm caught in the machinery, or they learned proper fall protection. Um, Reporting is super important. And again, this is one of those places where all of these tools, all of these systems, they all have kind of their own special magical way of sending over these reports. So you're kind of relying on all of these disparate systems and different LMS admins to provide these reports to you, um, which often comes in the form of a big pile of spreadsheets, which is fine. Spreadsheets are great, but it's a lot to sort through. Um, we've got customers that they've got training. They make training available to hundreds of local chapters, franchises in like a extended enterprise situation, and every location needs to then report back to the mothership every month or every week to kind of say who did and didn't. Uh, what's the latest on reporting? Um, this can be dozens or hundreds of different types of reports coming in. And somebody's job, maybe your job, is to sort through all that stuff and kind of figure out whether learner ABC 123 at franchise location XYZ completed this training, or didn't, and who did and who didn't, and where is that lost completion coming from. So yeah, this becomes a huge challenge. This is one that people talk to us about a lot. Um, so yeah, and there's a common thread. Again, this all kind of comes back to like, hey, my courses are in too many different places. You know, it's a multiplication problem.
Yeah, so I think common thread, right? Peter already mentioned this, but these things, these challenges are reoccurring. They're compounding. We're starting to get at something that is core to all these problems. Before I move on, I'm getting some comments in the chat that some of you can't hear me, but some of you can. Peter, can you hear me? Okay.
I can, yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay. Really sorry about that, folks out there. If you can hear me, just let me know. If you can't, I'm so sorry. I have no idea why that's happening. I'm seeing that my audio is on my side. Peter can hear me. Other folks
Yeah,
are giving me a thumbs up.
it's the mysteries of
Apologize.
modern
Yeah,
technology, right? We're all living in the
yeah,
future.
yeah. If maybe the
It,
recording's loud and clear, you'll just have to go back and just listen to me after this. I don't know. I'm
yeah,
sorry about
you could
that.
skip me and just go straight to Cam.
Yeah.
Go straight to the good stuff.
Well, we'll put it through an AI thing and cut out Peter, and you can just listen to me.
Yep, yep.
Okay, sorry for the aside. I just wanted to do a quick technical check there. Anyways, as we were discussing, you're sensing something I think here, which is these problems all relate to a lack of what we like to think of as centralization. So, Peter, if you want to proceed to the next slide, let's talk about what we think the solution is. Okay. Um, in our ideal world, when we think about these roadblocks and how we solve them, um, we like to think of a centralization model. You'll see this come up a lot with us here at Rustici. We've got previous webinars on it. We've got blogs about it. We do speaking events about it. We have our customers speak about it. But we like to think of this model where it's a one-to-many solution. You have one place for all your content, one place from which you can deliver that content across tools, one place to update seamlessly. We call it versioning. Peter's already spoken at length about this. I think it was our first roadblock. One place where your customers, your partners, your resellers, whoever that is, can come and access that content in real time. And one place again where all of your reporting lives. So we've got, I like to think of it as sort of a wheel, right? It's a hub with many spokes. And this diagram, I think, speaks volumes. But imagine a world where everything lives in that hub, and the LMSs that you need to distribute to, regardless of standards they support, regardless of the age of the LMS, regardless of what reporting that LMS has, uh, everything lives in one place, and you can share with those LMSs and remain completely agnostic of some of the root causes of the roadblocks we've already discussed. So we've been hearing this problem for a long time. Like I said, we've been doing this a long time. We've been e-learning standards nerds forever. Um, and after many years of hearing this, we developed a solution that we feel like really fits well into this centralization model. So after hearing all the problems, we decided to do something about it. Enter Content Controller. Again, many of you, if you're here, you're probably familiar with this tool. If not, let's talk a little bit about what Content Controller is. Uh, Content Controller is a web application that allows you to centrally host and manage your content, and then share that content in whatever standard you need to share it as. So again, we alluded to this earlier, but let's say you need to you've authored all your content in one format, but you have a series of LMSs that required in a different format. Content Controller allows you to do that. I call it the magic of Content Controller. It is the ability to import SCORM 2004 and share as SCORM 1.2. We see this, in use today as a sort of standards booster. So even beyond the need for that sort of translation of standards, sometimes people just need a way to get content in this format into a system that only, is only meeting the standard of another type of content. Manage versions efficiently and effectively, right? So let's say you've got to make updates. Maybe it's organization-wide updates. Maybe you have, a number of association members that rely on up-to-date training. And when a regulation changes and you've got to quickly and easily make those changes across your entire customer base, Content Controller is the place where you can do it one time, and then it will update seamlessly across all systems that you share that content with. So we've got standard support, we've got centralization of your content, we've got versioning, and then something that we've been hearing for years is, man, Content Controller is great. It allows me to import my content and share that content as a proxy file in the standard I need it to be shared as, but there's still a number of steps involved, right? It is a great solution. We have made a living off of trying to make sharing content and distributing content as easy as possible. But over the past couple of years, we started thinking more about how can it be even easier? What are our customers really looking for to take it to the next step? We listen. This is something that's really special about this place. We are a small team, but we listen to every single customer request and we take it into consideration. And so that's my sort of quick encouragement. Like if you are using Content Controller today or are exploring using Content Controller today and have ideas or requests or the things that you're really problems you're facing day to day that we have yet to solve, please let us know. But from some of this feedback, we have recently launched Content Portal. Content Portal, Peter's going to show some of this a little bit, in detail, but Content Portal is our answer to the self-service access. We wanted to give our customers a way for their customers to easily access all the content that's available to them and what they have, privileged access to see. So again, Peter is going to show us some of that. He's going to show us some of the great things about Content Controller as well as Content Portal, which I briefly mentioned. But yeah, I'll hand it back over to Peter to run through a little bit of a demo for everyone.
Cool. Thanks, Cam. All right. So yeah, like Cam was saying, this is really an application designed to centralize your content, uh, get everything in one place, and reduce that burden of having to meet everybody's needs and sort of it's a time saver, right? You can think of it as a way to decouple yourself from, the content library can be how whatever it needs to be. The learners can come in wherever they need to come in. Rather than doing the same task many times, you're going to do it once. You're going to put your content here and then share it out using, like Cam was saying, proxy files. So these are like dummy SCORM packages that don't contain any content. So I'm going to kind of just do a quick walkthrough of kind of a typical workflow here and how this looks. I won't go super deep in the weeds. We don't have time for that, but happy to do a deeper dive if anybody's interested. Just again, a lot of forums on our website. Reach out anytime. We're happy to go on a call and kind of take you on a deeper dive through here. Okay, so what we're seeing right now is the main content library or the global content pool. It has several names. effectively, this is the last place you're going to put your content. So you're not going to be sharing out SCORM packages or AICC packages with anybody. You're going to put them here, and this is where they live from now on. To be more specific, we can accept any flavor of SCORM. So that's SCORM 1.2, 2004, second, third, fourth edition, AICC, Tin Can, CMI5, really any learning standard. And we can even pull in media files like MP4s, MP3s, PDFs. These behind the scenes will get wrapped as CMI5, so that will essentially add a tracking layer. So what that means is that you might have a video, it might be just an MP4, but you'll be able to set, say, a completion threshold. So a learner will launch this video, they can watch the video, but they don't get a completion status unless they have viewed X% of the video, whatever you set. Um, so it makes these PDFs and these sort of regular media files behave like they were packaged learning content. Um, and then there's one other thing. I'm just going to point briefly to this. Living sort of in the background is the Rustici cross domain tool, which is essentially a way to pull in entirely custom content that does not conform to any particular learning standard. I think most content controller customers are probably not using this, but for the ones who are, this is the reason they're using content controller. This is for people who have a large library of really advanced stuff that's maybe AR, VR, it's gamified things. It's stuff that is custom and it has to launch in its platform the way that you've designed it. And you either can't reauthor it all as SCORM or you don't want to reauthor it all as SCORM. Um, you can essentially pull that content in here and it will appear alongside these other courses, these videos and SCORM packages and whatnot. So we try to make it easy to bring in whatever you've got. So I'm going to take a look at one of these courses here. This is our famous golf course. Um, this is where, the first thing people typically will do will be to import content and then just test it, make sure that it behaves properly. It displays in the way that it should. It gives a completion status in the way that it should. Um, so I'm just going to test this course here. We can see that it is now it's launching in this testing sandbox. Sure, I'll resume. So here we are. We're looking at this course, and again, this is a Rustici classic. I think it was hand built by Mike Rustici decades ago, probably. If I go through this course, I'm going to fail this miserably, and we'll leave a bunch of questions blank. Submit the answers. Everything's going to roll up and report back to this dashboard here. So we can just confirm that the course is doing all the things it was designed to do. There are a bunch of things over here that I'm not going to go into because if you're going to mess with these things, something's going wrong. You're on the phone with our team and somebody's helping you because the course is not behaving properly. The one section that you may need to mess with here is the launch behavior section. This is where you can determine the way this course will display. So just very quickly, I'm going to switch that. So now it's going to launch in a new window. So now we see the same course, but it's displaying differently. So you've got a lot of control over the behavior of these courses. Okay, but what's really important here is getting the courses out to where they need to be. So we've pulled courses in, they're here in our global content pool. The next thing that typically people need to do is set up some accounts. These are tenants, so each of these is probably either a customer or an LMS, a franchise, some location, a destination where you plan to share content. You would probably, if these are all internal systems, maybe these are different departments. Essentially, they're just different LMSs. So there is some licensing stuff here. Content Controller is also used as a tool for content publishers who need to license their content and keep track of usage and set limits like expiration dates and seat limits and things like that. But the important thing here is that each of these accounts gets their own little bucket of content. So what we're seeing here, we're looking at Acme Inc.'s account. these are courses that we've pulled in from that global content pool and just added just for Acme Inc. So we can just start looking at the main library and pull in whatever courses we need. Um, this is distinct from, if I look at another account, they have a different set of courses. So you can kind of designate who gets what, all centrally shared from Content Controller. But how do we get it to them? So when we're looking at Acme Inc.'s pile of content here, the first time you do this, you'll probably just share everything. But you can select one, you can select multiple, um, and click the share button. And this is where you just need to know what their LMS supports. So this comes back to that decoupling thing. The actual course itself might be an MP4, it might be a SCORM 2004 course, but if the LMS that needs to launch it says, oh, well, we can't do that, we need SCORM 1.2. Great, no problem. You just select SCORM 1.2 here, click Get Link, and now what you can do is download one of these proxy files. You can either download this yourself and put it somewhere for the LMS admin to receive, or you can just copy this link and they can download it. Anyone who clicks this link will initiate the download of that proxy file. And then the content portal. This is what Cam was talking about. This is the result, quite literally, of customers saying, exactly like Cam said, uh, we need another way to make this easier for our LMS admins. This really serves that use case of people who update the library regularly. Every month they're adding new courses for their customers or for their different departments. They didn't want to have to be sending out new proxy packages every time. So what this is basically a website where the LMS admin can log in and just see everything you've made available for this particular account. So there's a few things here. Right now, so this is the URL. This is where the portal will live. There's some messaging here that you can adjust. You can decide which standards you want to make the courses available in. And then you can also adjust the look of it. So if there's a logo or styling or colors you need to add, you can do all that here. You will need to set who is allowed to access it. So you'll need to make sure people are on the list of approved users. But what that looks like is this. So when we log in to the portal, we can see here's all the courses that Acme Inc. has available. Here we've made them available only in SCORM 1.2. I'm just going to hop back over here and let's enable a couple other formats. We'll say they've got a new LMS and now they support all these other standards. So now if we refresh this, we can see now they're able to download in whatever format they want. So that's the content portal. And again, these packages that you're sharing, let's say they're SCORM packages. They are SCORM compliant. They are, if somebody didn't look closely, they would probably just assume you had given them the full SCORM courses. The kind of the indicators are that they're tiny. They're like 10 or 15 kilobytes, and they don't contain any content. So LMS admins can take them, they can import them into their system, they can assign them to learners, they will launch, they will report, they will do all the normal SCORMy things that they would expect, but they're actually being launched from within Content Controller, and we are, once they launch that initial package, we begin basically streaming the course in from Content Controller. So it's our player that's taking over, that's actually playing the content. And because of that, we're also going to be capturing really all of the reporting. So we will always capture everything that the course was designed to report on. In some cases, that might be more than what they're getting in their launching LMS. It really depends on what standard you've chosen to share the course out with, but this is a unified report. So again, in that scenario where you've got some people launching the SCORM version and some people launching the CMI5 version, if the actual course is the CMI5 course, you're going to capture all that CMI5 magic, even if one of those LMSs is only seeing the kind of the SCORMy stuff. we're always going to push down, the big four of time, completion status, pass, fail, score. If there's a quiz, if it's SCORM 2004, you might be reporting on interaction details too. So like answers to questions. um, so there's a lot here. There are a lot of ways to look at reporting. I'm not going to go through all of these today. What I want to focus on primarily are the course reports. So what this would be is every learner who has launched this golf course across all destinations, all LMSs, um, we can begin to see how they're doing. So we can start to understand how this course itself is working. Are people learning? Is it effective? And this is agnostic of what customer or what destination is launching it. This is just everybody who's launched this course. If it is a SCORM 2004 course, and if it is reporting on like interaction details, that's where you can start to see some really interesting things, like how are people doing on specific questions? Are there questions that people don't answer correctly? Why? Can you identify that early? That becomes really, really valuable information, especially from a content creation perspective. I think that's super interesting. But if you want to dig a little bit deeper and you want to kind of understand, let's say we want to know everybody at a specific organization or at a specific LMS. So everyone at Acme Inc. who has launched that golf course, now we can start to see more information about the specific learners and how they're doing. So we can see kind of average time, completion status, pass, fail, all that kind of stuff, average scores. And unless you choose to anonymize this information, you will be collecting actual learner IDs. So you will know who these learners are. Again, we're launching the course from within Content Controller. So we're always going to capture whatever is available. Now, if you are not allowed to know who these learners are, or you don't want to know who they are, you can choose to anonymize that, and in which case you'll just see a big gross generic ID like this. Now in their LMS, it's not hashed there, so they will still know who the learners are. You just don't get to know who they are. And it is a unique ID. So if that same learner comes back and launches another course, you will see that same gross string of characters for that same learner. All of these reports are shareable, either via a CSV or kind of a live updating link, basically to this page here. So if you needed to, push this up the chain to somebody else who needs to understand what's happening, or send this down to, a chapter on the ground, they can maybe. This comes back to that thing where sometimes we're getting better reporting inside Content Controller than people are in their LMS. So sometimes we've got customers who send these reports down to the launching LMS. Okay, so the last thing I want to point to here in this demo is versioning. So this is a super important thing. Like we were saying, this is the pain point that a lot of people talk about. So if I've got this golf course, that's great, but now it's 2025, it's time for the new version of the course. You would just select this version button and upload a new copy of the course. And then you would, as you import new versions, you're going to start to see this version history grow. At any point, you could revert back to a previous version. You could publish whichever version needs to be live. But the most important thing here is that the one that has the green check mark next to it is the one that learners will see when they launch those proxy files. So, you may have shared this course out with 20 different LMSs. You've uploaded a new version, and now you're in control of which version learners will actually see. You don't need to send anything new to the LMS admin. They don't need to come in and download anything else. That package that you shared previously now points to this new version of the course. So that is a super powerful tool to be able to just kind of like always know who took which version of the course and when they took it and did they complete it and what was their score. So yeah, there's a lot of other stuff kind of under the hood. I'm not going into everything today. Like I said, if this is interesting to you, if this is something that seems like it would be helpful, just let us know. This is what we're here to do. We're happy to get on calls and talk to you about this stuff and bring us your questions. That's what we're here for. All right.
Nice. Thanks, Peter. That was great. Folks, we've got some great questions in the chat, which we'll get to. We've got about 15 minutes left. So we'll spend a couple more minutes on these slides and then we'll try to get to as many questions as we possibly can. I know Michael has done a great job of answering some of those in real time in the chat. So thanks to Michael. Thanks everyone for your questions. But let's just quickly recap. We've talked about a lot. We've covered a number of different roadblocks. We've covered a concept, which is centralization, and then we've covered our solution, content controller. We're sort of helping you untangle the mess, right? We want to simplify content management as much as possible, allow you to store everything in one place, provide you with that one-to-many model where then you can then distribute your content to external parties and update those pieces of content seamlessly. The name of the game here is to reduce cost, save time. I mean, that's at the end of the day, I think what we tend to hear from folks most often. This piece of software is great. It's got a number of different features that people love to use, but what matters most to large organizations is, are we saving time and are we reducing costs in a lot of cases? But just at a high level, we're trying to make your life a little bit easier. If you're a content admin or you manage a training organization or an L&D team, it's definitely how can we make your life easier, but how can you measure impact of your training? And I think with the way that we've established the solution and the types of reports that we're providing back to you, but also your customers, you're definitely able to measure that impact in a very real way, and tie some of the data back to: are we saving time? Are we saving money? Are we training people in the way that we want to train them? And how is that training, impacting things like job performance or effective selling, or fill in the blank there, whatever metric you're trying to measure. I'm not going to read all these, but what I do want you all to know is that, as Peter's mentioned a number of times, we're here for you. If you want to have a larger conversation around what centralization looks like and how Content Controller can help you solve for that, we would love to talk. I know we've got great questions in the chat, but at the end of the slideshow, you're going to see an email address. Please reach out to us. We would love to set up a call and dive deeper. But we've said a lot, but take it from our customers. We've got a lot of great case studies. We would love for you to read through those if you're interested. But just a couple here that we will share with you all after the webinar. Valvoline and Penn Medicine are two of our customers that have solved for a lot of the roadblocks we have talked about today using content controllers. So aggregating reports to measure training effectiveness. Penn Medicine saving a lot of time when it comes to managing and updating content and versioning content, and allowing themselves to be LMS agnostic, which is something we've talked about today, and some folks have commented on that as well. As how do we account for that change when LMSs come and go, or LMSs evolve, or content evolves? How can we keep that agnostic approach? So finally, like I said, if you have questions, please ask us anything. We've got about 10 minutes left here. Again, Michael has done a great job of responding to a lot of questions in the chat, but there are some things I wanted to just quickly throw out there that I thought were really interesting. The first one's not technically a question, but a comment. And Tracy Moore says, I think a huge problem is serving users of multiple languages. Translating SCORM files has been pretty challenging and cumbersome in my experience. Peter, I don't think you mentioned this in the demo, but do you want to just quickly talk about equivalence and how we're trying to solve for that?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And that's actually a pretty common one too. Yeah, the basic idea here is we've got this same course. It's the golf course. Uh, we've got customers or we've got different departments all around the world that we need the same course in multiple languages. So you would publish that course in however it needs to be published, um, import all of those languages here into Content Controller, and then you would create what we call an equivalent. Um, this is essentially it lets you take those multiple languages, bundle them together into one package that you would share out. So the thing you would share is still one little proxy package, but when learners go to launch it, they're going to see this splash screen that says, hey, what language do you want to launch this in? This course is available in multiple languages. Um, you can customize this and put this together however you need it to be. And I will close the course so we can actually see it. But I think we support something like 26 or 30, some large number of languages, basically. Uh, so yeah, that is a common situation when people need to share courses out in multiple languages. And let's see if I can open this up so we can actually look at it. So if we were building a new equivalent, we would just set it up here, add languages, import the various courses, and then you assign that to an account and share it out as a proxy package. Yeah, so there's the list of supported languages.
Yeah, cool. Thanks,
Great,
Peter.
great question.
So yeah, we can certainly help solve for that, Tracy. If you're curious, we can talk more about it. Gosh, a lot of great questions coming in. Some of them are already answered, but I just want to comment on a couple more. Both Drew and Susan have some concerns about sharing content out of Content Controller with folks who may have restricted access to storage locations, or you know, selling courses to government customers. You know, at the end of the day, that's kind of a thing we would have to look at and test with you. There is a way to sort of white label some stuff so that IT departments can work with, accepting the content from Content Controller. It may seem obvious, but just something I want to make clear is that the end learner does need an internet connection. So if they're like, working offline for any reason, they're not going to be able to launch a piece of content from Content Controller. I will say this though, we work with a number of federal agencies. We also work with a number of partners who can host Content Controller in environments that are, FedRAMP approved, for example. So we do this all the time, and it's something we see. Occasionally there are hiccups if they're working behind a firewall, but I think it's, at the end of the day, again, something we just have to look at together and understand the technical implications. But it's something we certainly do, and again, we have a number of federal agencies that are actually hosting this on their own and serving to their learners, which are in more secure environments. Um, let's see, what else do we have here? We have questions about, sorry guys, I'm just kind of reading through the questions real time. Susan, you made a comment about how you have 26,000 students and they won't really know what to do with this or bother. I think you were referring to Content Portal, if I'm not mistaken. But just to clarify on that, the Content Portal is not something that students would access. And this is just one of those things where we have blinders on. We kind of understand the audience, but maybe we didn't communicate that very well to you all. The audience really for Content Portal is the LMS administrator that you are sharing content with. So let's say you have a customer that you need to get your library over to. You would simply provide access to that Content Portal to the LMS admin. They could then go in and pull from that what their learners need. So hopefully that clarifies things a little bit. It's not for end users or learners to go in and access it. Is more so for your primary contact within your customer. All right. Let's see. What else would be good for us to answer here today? Ari says, can we install CC into a private secure cloud for federal security requirements? You definitely can. We offer a Content Controller as a managed hosted application.
Oh, we might have lost you there for a second. I'll pick up what Cam was saying is, oh, you're back.
Oh, oh gosh, did I freeze?
No, just for a moment. Yeah. We heard that we offer content controller as a managed hosted application, and that's where it dropped off.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Managed hosted or self hosted. We can certainly give you something that you can deploy or
Oh, internet issues. Yeah. So
they
basically,
are.
we do have customers who host this themselves. It's entirely up to you.
Am I back?
Yes, seems like it. Sort of. You're back-ish, let's say. Um, yeah. Well, all right. Let's see here. Well, we're waiting for. Oh, there he is.
Am I back?
You're back for real, maybe for now
Sorry,
at least.
sorry everyone. I don't know what's going on. Everything froze up for me. Um, I think Peter, you probably covered the self hosting
Yeah.
and in a private secured cloud. Yes, absolutely. Um, Amanjo asked, does Content Controller connect to my Rustici engine and map all the courses already imported? Um, Not exactly. I mean, I will just say that we have plenty of customers that use both tools in tandem. For instance, they may choose to, uh, let me back up. I'll say they may have built an application that leverages Rustici engine, but they also have a distribution need. And so they may choose to host all of their content centrally in Content Controller and treat their LMS powered by Engine as one of those destinations for exports, but also sharing with external third party or customers who have their own LMS. Um, that's a really great question, though, and something we'd love to talk a little bit more about because we also have some other potentially more integrated, options for distributing content if you are an engine customer specifically. But that's a great question.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Let's see.
What other questions are there?
There's many. This is great. Tracy asks, do you have any authoring tools that are lifetime licenses or SaaS only? We use Articulate to build simulations, but find it to be challenging to translate content into other languages. Um, we did talk about equivalence, but that would imply that you've already shared your content or sorry, created your content out of an authoring tool in a certain language or have localized that. Um, I'm not sure exactly what you mean, Tracy, by authoring tools with lifetime licenses. But we try to, again, we work with a number of authoring tools. We work with a number of LMSs. We have tools that focus on playing nicely across those systems and solving for that through the power of e-learning standards. So content that's coming out of an authoring tool, we almost always will support that. Um, Simulations is actually, you mentioned simulations. That's a really interesting space. And Peter, you know, showed off RxD or Rustici cross domain. We would love to see more people use cross domain to share simulation based training into a more traditional like learning management system. So I don't know if that's what you're alluding to, but definitely an interesting challenge we're seeing. Let's see. We've got 1 minute, so I don't know if we're going to get to all these questions, y'all. But this is fantastic. I think that's probably a good place for us to stop, just given the time constraint. But Peter, did you have any other closing thoughts or anything else you wanted to say?
No, just thank you for having these questions. Please just email us. Fill out those forms on our website. Ask those questions. We are happy to get on a call and just dive deeper with you. These questions are really interesting, and again, this is where our products come from. This great, interesting use cases that maybe we didn't think of when we designed these tools. So yes, thank you all for the time today. Very much appreciate it, and I hope we'll talk with you all again soon.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. This has been fun. We appreciate your time.